Hey guys, so it's a pleasure to be back with you guys here on Super Bowl Sunday. Just got back from Vegas. You guys can check out some of the Radio Row content. A couple of, several NFL guys were, really nice with their time. And have some pretty good interviews up on the channel there. They were able to give out pretty good content. So we're going to talk right now, as it is early in the morning here, we're going to talk about offensive coordinator Ryan Grubb going from Seattle, going from now Alabama to Seattle. And I think that this is a fascinating move. I think that this is a tremendous move by Mike Mcdonald and the Seattle Seahawks staff. I think Seattle, with John Schneider, is going to be, and Jody Allen, I think that this is going to be one of the most cutting-edge, most fascinating football programs, not only in the NFL, but also in college football, but in high school, in all of professional football. Ryan Grubb, offensive mastermind. Ryan Grubb helped transform Michael Penix. He helped elevate Romeo Dunze into a first-round pick. McMillan is going to be a second-round pick, and Jalen Polk from Texas Tech was an incredible transfer that they were able to get. Ryan Grubb, against Dan Lanning and Tasha Lapoy, he ran Dylan Johnson when he needed to run the football. Against Texas, in that defense loaded with 4 and 5 stars, Michael Penix threw for about 380 yards, only missed 9 throws. Ryan Grubb and Kalen Deboer together helped in the development of Michael Penix, but also Ryan Grubb was there with Jake Haener. Jake Haener, very successful quarterback under Jeff Tedford, and then Kalen Deboer. They were a 9-3 team, and Jake Haener and that Fresno State Bulldogs offense was a tremendous, tremendous offense as well. So Ryan Grubb and Kalen Deboer go way back to their time in South Dakota as 30-year-old assistants. And this is a huge deal for Alabama as well, because you thought that part of the allure of getting Kalen Deboer was him bringing a village, in the words of Brock Heward. And right now, the departure of Ryan Grubb, Ryan Grubb is a huge part of what Alabama was going to do, or what Washington did, what Fresno State was all about. Losing your coordinator, guys, it's just about one of the biggest deals in all of, football. You look at what happened with the Philadelphia Eagles when they lost Shane Steichen, and you watch, the New York Giants lost Bill Belichick. It was never the same. Sean Payton left Dallas, and that offense was never the same. So, Kyle Shanahan left Dan Quinn, and it was all over. It goes on and on and on, the list of assistants that end up actually being the masterminds behind, the scheme. For every, Eric Bieniemy, Andy Reid situation, there's probably 3 times the Kyle Shanahans or the Sean McVay leaving the Redskins. You look at that old coaching staff. So Ryan Grubb has an incredible story. Went to South Dakota State, or played at Buena Vista as actually a running back and a wide receiver. Then he was pretty much doing nothing. I think he was painting drywall, or not doing nothing. He was not coaching. All right. And he was down and out. He was doing a job he did not like. I don't mean to ever criticize a position. Okay. I don't know what he was doing necessarily. But basically, Kalen Deboer found Ryan Grubb, okay? Because Ryan Grubb was basically, just going back to his career, he was an offensive coordinator in Iowa. Excuse me. And then Kalen Deboer at South Dakota State hired him. So he's been with Kalen Deboer, bottom line, guys, for almost Kalen Deboer's entire career. I mean, even Eastern Michigan, and then went out to Fresno State. So he's been with Kalen Deboer for about 12 to 13 years. He's been with him for 15 years, the majority of his coaching career. So now he wanted to branch out. And by the way, he liked living in Seattle. He wanted that Washington job. And I think it would have been, smart for Washington to keep him. Now, Jed Fish proved me wrong at Arizona, but he wanted the Washington job. And now Ryan Grubb, he's been with Kalen Deboer a while. I don't know. Again, I don't know this, but maybe he wasn't thrilled with, the SEC or maybe going to Alabama, but he pretty much achieved as an offensive coordinator almost all you can achieve as an offensive coordinator with his time at Fresno State and his time at Washington with that offense with Haener and Michael Penix. I mean, he's been an assistant for a long time, and now he's up to the NFL level. I mean, this is a new challenge. This is the NFC West. He's going to be facing off against Bosa. He's going to be facing off against Fred Warner, Javon Kinlaw, and that 49ers defense. He's going to be playing against, Sean McVay and the Rams. And he's going to it's funny when you think about this, the best defenses in that league, in that division. I mean, the Rams defense is probably going to go down. The 49ers defense is a really solid defense. All right, but they don't have a lot of cap space, but it's still going to be like an incredible challenge. And then Arizona is actually the sneaky team that if that I've heard from people who watch a lot of, all 22 is that Jonathan Gannon and their defensive coordinator, Nick Rallis, do a lot. So, this Ryan Grubb, this is a new, invigorating adventure for Ryan Grubb to be the offensive coordinator of Seattle. And you look at this wide receiver talent, it's fantastic. I mean, Jake Bobo happened to hit as a late round guy, but Jackson Smith and Jigba, I think that he's going to be a really, really good NFL pro. I think he's going to be he's probably a really good number 2 receiver. Then you have DK Metcalf, who's still kind of in his prime there, all right, as a wide receiver. Tyler Lockett, a little bit older, but still a savvy veteran that's still on the roster. Then you look at Noah Fant. You have Geno Smith. You have Drew Lock as your quarterbacks. You're probably going to go out and maybe have the freedom to draft a quarterback. It's speculated that they might, go get Michael Penix. But I think that if Michael Penix is available, then that's going to happen. But also, just like Kalen Deboer and Ryan Grubb departing, I mean, the odds are is that Michael Penix is probably going to end up somewhere else. But if he's there, I mean, it will be fascinating with Ryan Grubb. Grubb hasn't spent a lot of time in the NFL, 47 years old. I think that Ryan Grubb likes Seattle, and I think that this being his first year as a coordinator and being in the NFL for the first time, even if they have a lot of success in Seattle, I believe that Ryan Grubb will want to stay and build this thing with Mike Mcdonald, and it's a new relationship here. Mike Mcdonald has totally, other than Jim Harbaugh's son, which, I think it's great that Seattle was able to get Jim Harbaugh's son. They go out there, and the Seattle Seahawks also were able to get the offensive line position from Ryan Grubb as well. So Scott Huff is following Ryan Grubb to the staff in Seattle. And now I'm excited to see who the wide receivers coach is going to be. In Alabama, Jamarcus Shepard is a really, really good wide receiver coach. He's going to be helping out with plays Nick Sheridan, it says, as well. But Seattle Seahawks, I mean, their defensive coordinator happens to be a British guy who happens to be from NFL Europe. And who happened to, help develop, you're talking about Micah Parsons, you're talking about Take Lawrence. So the Seattle Seahawks defensive coordinator is a guy, again, who, very outside the box hire, Aiden Durde. Aiden Durde, again, like a guy in his 40s who coached in Dallas. Fascinating story. I mean, from Britain, but again, one of the brightest, defensive line coaches in the NFL. a guy who has a great connection with his players and a guy who worked with Dan Quinn's defense. And Dan Quinn went from that cover 3 defense to then, what they were there in Dallas, which was, kind of a fascinating defense. So I couldn't be a bigger fan of these Seahawks hires. I mean, I guess no assist. Very rarely when you hire a staff, I mean, sometimes maybe in college football staffs, it's a home run staff, but I love the innovation that's going to be happening here with Mike Mcdonald, John Schneider, the defensive talent that's in Seattle. And, I mean, this is going to be a really fun team to watch with Mike Mcdonald. I think Mike Mcdonald can create something incredibly special. I think you got to stay patient with him, but I know he was hired towards the end of the cycle, but I also think that this was the best hire of the entire cycle, was Mike Mcdonald, was the Seattle Seahawks team, this roster, the football that they're going to be playing in Seattle. I'm fascinated to see the Grubb offense go from the college ranks and see if it works in the NFL. I guess that's the risk you take, but I absolutely love the risk. And again, I think if it hits, I think Ryan Grubb will be happy to stay in Seattle. I do, and that's the best of your problems, and we're going to see. I think they will try to maybe find a quarterback. Maybe, John Schneider, I know, likes Drew Lock, and Drew Lock's in his 20s, so maybe Ryan Grubb will see something with Lock, but Lock is a free agent as well, so it's going to be fascinating. And with Geno Smith, they can get out of Geno's contract after this year. It's going to be, I can't wait to see what quarterback they're going to draft, because Ryan Grubb made it work with Jake Haener. He was interested in Will Rogers as a quarterback. So he doesn't just need the uber-talented, strongest-armed quarterback. You could maybe go with a guy that doesn't have as strong of arm as Michael Penix, which is every quarterback in this class. But you could be interested maybe in Jaden Daniels, or you can be interested in Bo Nix or Spencer Rattler. So it's again a fascinating time. But again, and for Alabama, I think that this is a huge loss for Kalen Deboer and the staff. And with Jalen Milroe at quarterback that Tommy Rees worked with, and his passing is still really developing, it's a time of turbulence for sure. But I think that Kalen still will be able to hire somebody pretty good. I still have faith in Kalen Deboer, but this, of course, is not ideal. This is a big loss. So Seattle, incredible job.